Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Today we're gonna talk about the Batman holiday special. How's that? Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Graphic Content. I'm your host, Kendrick, and today we're talking, obviously, from my song about the Batman Holiday Special. This was a special comic book published in 1994 by DC Comics, written and drawn by so many members of the Batman the Animated Series production crew. People like Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Glenn Murakami, Dan Reba. It had so many creators who worked on the show, working on the comic as well. It was 5 chapters. Each story is a holiday themed. Some are 3 pages, some are longer, but they're all a holiday themed story set in the Batman the Animated Series universe. What was really cool about this issue is almost all of these stories went on to become the episode Holiday Nights, one of the first episodes of the new Batman adventures. But being drawn in 1994, this issue was drawn in the style of Batman the Animated Series, rather than the new Batman adventures, which was streamlined to match the Superman the Animated Series style. So there's a bit of sort of argument, I suppose, about which one is actually the in-universe version of these events, but I think we can kind of go more towards what we see on screen being the absolute canon. It's kind of a similar situation with Mad Love, which was originally drawn in the original animated style, but the episode was adapted to be the new Batman Adventures. So there are a few noticeable differences between this comic and the new Batman Adventures. The first story is called Jolly Old St. Nicholas. It is the Clayface segment of the Holiday Nights episode where Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya are undercover at the Gotham City Mall. They're looking for a string of robberies that have been taking place. So Harvey is the Santa Claus and Renee Montoya is an elf, and it's really cute to see them kind of interact with the kids pretending to be Santa there at the mall. There's a little girl who sits on his lap whose father is Mad Dog McSweeney, who he sent to jail just a couple months ago, and she also wants her dad back for Christmas. He's got to kind of break her heart and tell her Santa can't always give you what you want, you know? And so as they're talking to these kids, there's robberies happening. There's little kids running around stealing people's purses and jewelry and whatnot. Barbara Gordon's there looking for a tie for her father, Commissioner Gordon. So she catches on to these kids pretty fast, grabs one of them, and their hand falls off. It's obvious now that it's Clayface. Barbara ends up running to a changing room and becomes Batgirl, comes out on the scene and fights Clayface, luring him outside the mall and takes him down in an ice skating rink where she's able to kind of convince Bullock and Montoya to shoot. It's a funny scene. She's like, shoot the Santa, and Bullock's like, you wouldn't, thinking that was him because he's dressed up as Santa Claus. But it's really, there's a Santa ornament above the skate rink that's shot down, falls on Clayface. They defeat the villain. So again, what's kind of cool reading this comic is seeing Batgirl in the Batman the Animated Series style with her gray costume rather than the black and yellow one that we're used to in the new Batman adventures. There was also a really cool behind the scenes moment that's collected in my Batman Dangerous Dames and Demons collection that has Mad Love, the Batman Adventures Annual number 2 with Etrigan, among a couple other really cool issues. It has this scene with Batgirl and Clayface where instead of going to the changing room, Barbara actually just swoops down in the crowd of people as they're running outside the mall, and it's a really sexy scene that gets toned down for the finished comic. She doesn't just change in the middle of a bunch of people. But that's Bruce Timm for you. That's the kind of stuff he wants to do. The next chapter is called The Harley and the Ivy. This was written by Paul Dini with art by Adele Carmen. This was a really cool segment too. One of my favorites adapted for the Holiday Nights episode, just because it was like in such a crisp animation style. There were some really interesting moments with the shading and whatnot that happened in the cartoon. And it's here in the original comic as well. What stands out, I guess I should go through the plot first. Harley and Ivy are hanging out. They're super bored. Harley wants a Christmas tree. Ivy is obviously not down with that, being the environmentalist that she is. So instead, they decide to seduce Bruce Wayne and go on a shopping spree. Meanwhile, Bruce is at Veronica Vreeland's party, a big Christmas party, and he's fending off women left and right, trying to spend a nice, quiet Christmas alone. So on his way out, he ends up getting lured by Harley and Ivy into their car. They seduce him with a sort of mind-controlling lipstick. So a couple kisses later, Bruce is under their command, and so is his credit cards. They go to the mall, go on a shopping spree, and what is one of my favorite segments of the cartoon, we have this montage sequence of Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. They have this really fun fashion moment where the two them try on a bunch of different outfits, and the animation style is really beautiful here. That all happens. Eventually, Batman's able to finally get out of their mind control. They push him down an elevator shaft as he tries to get away, and that gives him the time to transform into Batman and take down the villains. The next story is called White Christmas, which was also written by Paul Dini with art by Glenn Murakami. This one is the one story here in the comic that actually wasn't adapted for Holiday Nights and is actually no longer in continuity because of the events of Sub-Zero. So White Christmas deals with Mr. Freeze, and he's escaped Arkham. He's been really despondent, asking the Arkham guards, like, what's the weather like? Is it gonna snow this Christmas Eve? And so Freeze has gone out. Batman tracks Freeze from Arkham into downtown Gotham, and on the way, while he's tracking him, Batman saves a mother and their child from getting run over by a stray car that slid in some ice. So he's able to kind of swoop in and save the family from certain death here at the last minute. And he yells at the driver to be more careful as he's driving around the city. So Batman eventually makes it to Gotham Cemetery, where he finds a police car totally frozen by Mr. Freeze's gun. Batman breaks into the car, frees the police officer, and finally confronts Mr. Freeze at the Gotham Cemetery. So Freeze fires his freeze gun at Batman. They have a pretty cool fight sequence, and Batman, before he just starts beating the crap out of Mr. Freeze, he kind of holds off. He's like, hey, look, it's Christmas Eve. I don't know why you picked tonight of all nights to go on this spree of yours, but just tell me what's up. Maybe we can talk it out. And so Freeze reveals that he's actually at the grave of Nora, his wife, who he had devoted his life into bringing back from her frozen state. She's buried here in Gotham Cemetery, very much dead, and he tells a story about how when they fell in love on Christmas Eve, it was snowy, and he just would have hated for her to be alone here on this Christmas Eve without the snow. So he came there just to provide the snow for her in her fresh grave. Now, the reason why this is not in continuity is because Nora isn't dead in the DCAU. In Sub-Zero, we actually learn that she is able to be brought back to life, and in further appearances in Batman Gotham Adventures and Batman Adventures Volume 2, Nora is actually active, very much alive, and active in trying to help her ex-husband, Mr. Freeze, find some sort of peace. So this White Christmas, even though it's a great story and it's a really cool alternate look into what Mr. Freeze, what his story arc probably would have been, it would have been a much more of a tragic character, which is probably what Dini and Timm intended, but because Sub-Zero was made by a different creative team, it ended up going into this different direction, which is kind of cool to see. It's definitely a more hopeful future that Nora survived, but it is cool just to see a version where she didn't. Next is a short called What Are You Doing for New Year's Eve? And this is all about the Joker. He has hijacked the Gotham airwaves during their New Year's Eve countdown segment. This is actually a sequence that we've seen play out again in the Holiday Nights episode. We see Joker interrupt a sports broadcasting. He's wearing a referee costume. What's kind of cool about this sequence is it's brought back for Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. When Batman is analyzing the Return of the Joker voice clip against old audio samples that he has, it is the same audio sample used from this event and from the Holiday Nights episode. So it's kind of a cool little bit of a continuity that gets revisited from the story. But here in the comic, again, drawn in the Batman the Animated Series art style, Batman's hunting down the Joker. He knows he's somewhere in Gotham City as the New Year's counting down. Joker has vowed not to kill anybody for the entire year. So because the New Year's coming up soon, he only has a few hours to kill a bunch of people to make up for it. As Joker preps for this, he and his goons pass out a bunch of Joker masks, which disguise a lot of people in the crowd, so Batman can't really tell who's who. But finally, he's able to find the Joker. He's up there on stage with his goons. Gotham has a bell similar to how New York City Times Square has the ball that drops for New Year's. So as the countdown happens, Batman and Joker are fighting. Batman ends up leading the Joker right to where the bell drops, and the bell falls on the Clown Prince of Crime and defeats him for New Year's. So the very last story in this collection is called Should Old Acquaintance Be Forgot, just like the New Year's song. This is a classic in the DCAU now. It is the story where Batman and Commissioner Gordon sit down for a cup of coffee and just kind of reminisce about surviving another year. Hopefully they'll be able to meet, share a cup of coffee again, and just kind of giving each other a pat on the back. It's a really cool tradition to see between the two friends that isn't always an element of their relationship in other media. So that's something I think that makes the DCAU versions of Batman and the Commissioner more special, is that we have this kind of window into their friendship here. But like typical Batman, he disappears before saying goodbye, but he does pay for the bill on his way out. This is a moment that is referenced in other bits of the DCU as well. We do have a moment in the Batman Adventures Volume 2 where Batman is able to send Commissioner Gordon a cup of coffee at New Year's, even though he's not able to be there with him in person. But like I said, I just think this is kind of a sweet element of their friendship that's fun to see here. This in the comic form is only 3 pages. In the Holiday Nights episode, it's just a couple minutes. But yeah, that's the holiday special. You can read this issue issue right now on the DC Universe app if you are a subscriber, so it's free with your subscription. Just search Batman Holiday Special. It's going to be one of the first results. Or you can watch the Holiday Nights episode that's also in the DC app under the new Batman Adventures. Holiday Nights, like I've been saying, is the exact same story, it's just missing the White Christmas episode. So I'd recommend doing both and comparing and seeing the differences for yourself, and let me know in the comments which one you prefer, if you kind of prefer the 1994 comic or the adaptation for the new Batman Adventures. That's been the episode. Thanks again for watching graphic content. If you've enjoyed this, check out some of the other videos we have here on the Watchtower Database. We do video essays every Sunday, among other timeline videos, podcasts, webcomics, and so much other cool content. I think it's cool anyway. That's why I participate in this. I enjoy it. You should enjoy it. If you want to support us, we have multiple ways of doing that. We have Patreon. It's patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. Find a couple different perks that we have there. We do live video streams. We do behind the scenes content, early video releases, voting for which video comes up next. So if you want to throw us your coffee money, you can go on there. Just give us $1 or $2. It goes a long way to help. And hopefully there's been a list of names scrolling as I've been saying these things. So thanks to these awesome people for helping us out every month. We also have Teespring, where you can buy t-shirts or coffee cups, other merchandise. That also supports us here at the Watchtower Database, and you get cool swag. It's got inside jokes, so your friends can be like, what is the meaning of that thing? And you'd be like, go watch the Watchtower Database on YouTube. That's pretty cool. Can't buy this shirt. That's not on there. It's not one of our shirts. It's my shirt. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks again for watching graphic content. I'll be back. See you in 2020. Bye.